Okay, got the lower cover off. Just had 4 bolts on it, holds it on. I'll show you this real quick. You're kind of looking at it from the back here, so let's go around the front. You got one, this is bottom here, you got one there on the left bottom, one right bottom. Got one kind of recessed, and one over on the far left top up here. So be sure you keep your bolts together on that. And so now I have access to everything I need. There's what's left of the tensioner down there. Idler is up over here. So tensioner's already released because the spring's off of it. So I'm going to put you on the tripod and I'm going to work this belt off of here. That's all there is to it. Let's take a look at this timing belt. There's where she's stripped right there. See that? Yeah. What a piece of crap, huh? But it lasted this many miles. Look at this. These are, I'm going to take you off the tripod. I'm going to go outside so you got their light. I want y'all to see this closer up. I want y'all to see exactly what does happen to timing belts when they get old and brittle and start to fail. As you can see, this one's started losing teeth. Lost one there, lost one there. And like I said, this is the big failure right here. This is a classic. Gets right around, because you got there at the bottom, you only got, you know, 3, 4, or 5 teeth that are holding it on the bottom pulley down there, so that's where they tend to strip. So it just stripped several teeth off, and that was it. Doesn't turn anymore. And you see when you bend it real tight, you see how how it's starting to separate at the base of the teeth. And it's just from age, you know, from heat cycles and things like that. Anything rubber like this is going to get old and brittle. So, and I'll show you that one spot again right here. That's, see that? It's just starting to come apart right there on the upper surface. Right there. So if you got, oh yeah, look at that. If you got a timing belt that's actually on your vehicle running right now, it looks like this, you need to get that sucker replaced right now, like yesterday. So, ain't the fault of the timing belt. You know, it did its job. But I just can't stress enough though, these things are wrong engine, the death sentence. Alright, well, I got to get ready here and talk to you about timing marks. This one, excuse me, I'm going to have to, pardon me, I'm going to have to set the timing marks on the cam and everything manually, because it's out of relationship with the crank, and since I can't turn it by the crank, the belt won't turn, then I'll have to do this all by hand, so I'll be showing you that. Let's go down here below and look for a timing mark. Okay. Alright. Okay, you see back there, look right where the camera's looking right there. Can you see that? You see that there's a little projection coming down from the top right there, a little, whatever you want to call that, kind of pointing downward. Okay, you see that right there to the left? You see that little notch that's cut out of this sprocket? I'm not talking about the tooth here, all these things. I'm talking about this back, right? back there. That's got to line up with that exactly. That's your top dead center mark. And it's pretty important, so I'm going to turn the fan off so you guys can hear me better. That's your top dead center mark. And you need to understand the relationship between top dead center on the crank and the mark down there and the mark on the camshafts up there. Now the camshaft, you notice the sprockets on those are larger than the crank sprockets, which is that one there. So that means for the most part the camshaft turns half speed of the crankshaft. That means you turn that around, it says that the crankshaft turns twice as fast as the cam does, or cams. If you have two cams, obviously they're going to turn the same speed as each other, so you don't have to worry about that. What you got to worry about is you got to understand the relationship between this timing mark and these timing marks up top. When you have this mark on top dead center, which we're about to do here just in a moment, I'm going to show you. When you have it on top dead center at the bottom there on the crankshaft, it can't be anything but top dead center when it's on that mark because of the way it's just right on the crankshaft. I mean, they don't, you know, every time it's marked, you got it lined up, it's at top dead center, number one, always, always. It's nothing else. You don't have to worry about it. So once you get it set down here, you're set. You know, it needs to always be lined up, but you understand what I'm saying is, there's no possibility of somebody saying, oh, you must have the crankshaft 180 degrees out on that mark. That's not true. If you're ever on the line, lined up on the mark, guys, you're always on it. You don't even have to worry about it again. Just line it up. Make sure it stays lined up. That's top dead center forever. Okay, so that said, here's what we got to understand about the camshaft. You see how much larger these camshaft sprockets are than the crank sprocket down there? Alright, what did I tell you? These camshafts turn half speed. That means for every time that the crankshaft down there comes to top dead center on number one, that mark, that means there's two possibilities for where these marks are going to be on the cam or cams. Now right this second I'm not going to show them to you, but I just want you to understand the theory. I want you to understand it so you don't get messed up on it. If you're working on one of these engines and you're just doing a timing belt replacement, that means it didn't break or it didn't strip, it's just at the mileage, it's running fine, then we're going to assume that it's in time. The valve timing's in time. Now, I'm not talking about ignition timing. That's something different. I'm talking about valve timing. So we're going to assume that. And what that means is, listen to me very carefully, what that means is every time that crankshaft is on top dead center, there are two, count that, two possibilities for where the cams are. They can either be in line or they can be 180 degrees out. It's just a, you know, that's just how it is. That's your equation, you know. Because you think about it, just like my throat's about 180 degrees out, sounds like. Sorry about that. I just get that way when I talk a lot. Let's look at our theory some more. Say these sprockets up here, they're turning as the cam turns and the crank turns. These are turning half speed of the crank. That means the crank's going to top dead center, top dead center, top dead center, top dead center. At the same time, these cams are kind of going top dead center, top dead center, top dead center. See, they're slower than the crankshaft. So don't get wigged out if you come up here, if you set this with the belt on it. If you look down there and your top dead center mark at the crank's on it, but your mark's up here like going out this way and out this way, don't wig out about it, because what it means is you're seeing one of the two possibilities of the camshaft marks. Now I know that sounds kind of crazy, but just to bear with me. What you need to do is go down here and always rotate the engine the direction it turns, which is right to the right, clockwise. Rotate the crank around one more time that comes up to top dead center again on the crank. Come up here and look, and your marks, which on these they face the center here, they'll be lined up. So that's a little bit of theory that you need to understand about camshaft marks, how it relates. The crankshaft and the cams, they don't turn at the same speed. The cams turn slower, they turn half speed. So, you know, might go back here to this diagram and show you. Now I hope I didn't make that more difficult than it needed to be, but that is something you need to understand. Let's take a look here at this diagram. This is your crank mark down here. This is that sprocket down on the crank. See there? So that's a little hash mark. Alright, well, when that's at top dead center, your intake and exhaust marks should be facing each other. Straight across. Straight line there. See? Like this. Straight line. If you know, so if they're facing out this way and this way, you know, to the left and right, out this way, you know, I've said it several times. That's what it means. It's just you got to go around one more time. So hopefully this won't make it confusing for you. But I just don't want anybody to wig out and think, well, oh hell, you know, I've got it set on top dead center, but my marks are going crazy. Don't take the belt off and try to figure it out. Just run it around one more time clockwise, and they should be perfectly lined up. Now, if you get this thing back up to top dead center, either before or after you've put the belt on, and your marks right there, you see that? That says exhaust and that says I, that's for intake. You see those marks? If you get them and they're not perfectly lined up, they're like maybe one's kind of going this way and the other one's kind of pointing, you know, a little down, you know, but they're not really facing her like a tooth off, then that's what it means. It's a tooth off. You have to have it before you can run the engine. You have to have it where they're perfectly straight across. You may have to take this belt back loose 3 or 4 times to get it all lined up. It's not easy sometimes, but that's how you do it. If it ain't looking like this, by the time you got the belt on and the tensioner released and it's got tension on the belt and you've turned the engine over a couple times by hand, if it don't look like this, you ain't done. So go back at it and get her lined up the right way, because you know it's not going to hurt this particular engine, but any engine, it ain't going to run right for sure. So you got any questions about this, please feel free to ask me, but this is pretty simple once you kind of think on it a little bit and understand it. I know it may seem like a mystery, but it's not. So this engine, particular engine, like I said, I've got to set all these marks by hand before I put the belt back on, which means I've got to rotate the crank and get it moved over a little bit till it's lined up, and then I've got to do these both by hand, and I turn them, you know, I turn them just with a wrench or whatever to get the marks lined up. Do not take these bolts out of these. Do not mess with these bolts and these sprockets ever, because these things may not have a keyway on them. That means if you take them loose, you may not get them back in the right position. And let me tell you, if you do that and you don't know how to fix it, you are going to a mechanic to get it fixed, because that's a whole bag of worms you don't want to mess with. There's no need at all to take these sprockets off. Don't let anybody tell you that. Not unless you're tearing the whole cams and everything out of it, which why would you? You know what I'm saying? Don't take those loose. So anyway, I hope that made some sense, everybody. I hope you can kind of think on that a little bit. You get to watch the video. Just play it back if you need to hear me say it again. So I'm going to get it going on here. I'm going to do some cleaning. I'm going to get these this tensioner and this idler taken loose and clean up in there a little bit. Get the little bits and pieces of rubber and stuff, teeth out of there. Now you will reuse the bolts that have fixed these two together, so be sure you keep them. You know, take the idler off and keep the bolt with it until you're ready to put the new one on, so you don't switch the bolts up or anything like that. So, okie dokie. Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping and get some. I'm going to get the tensioners put back on and everything, and all that, and we'll get back at her.